This is the Clean Energy Show with Brian Stockton and James Whittingham.
Hello and welcome to episode 23 of the Clean Energy Show. I'm Brian Stockton.
And I'm James Whittingham. Or Ham, or James the Humming Ham, I don't care. That's what you can call me now, Brian. James the Humming Ham. It's the last week of July, and on today's show, we'll be shooting the poop over the latest news of Tesla. I'll be introducing a new segment, Brian, called James's Clean Pet Peeves.
Wow.
I have 2 pet peeves so far. I'm saving one for next week. Don't know about the longevity of the show, but I know that you're a man who gets pet peeves from time to time. Maybe we could team up and have a pet peeve section.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's been warm. We're social isolating again, and cases are starting to ramp up. Did you know there was a case in your lake community?
Yes, at the bar.
At the bar? The bar?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Well, it wasn't me. I just want to point that out. The date was after I was there. So
okay.
I would not go to the bar anyway. But
no.
Yeah, so it's there. It's everywhere. It's amongst us.
The numbers have started to creep up again. I don't think I would do my trip to Vancouver now.
Really?
But maybe I did it at the right time. Yeah, everyone's getting a little bit too casual about it. They're talking about opening the schools in the fall. That seems kind of unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
I felt that really kind of fortunate to do our lake trip at the beginning of July, and I thought this is a good time. By the time we get out of here, it's going to go downhill, and unfortunately, it's a lot of it is confined to the Hutterite colonies, and I think it's spreading like wildfire because they have communal eating at the Hutterite colonies. I spent a day at Hutterite colonies on a documentary once back in the 1989. And the women all get together and cook, and then they all eat lunch, breakfast, and everything together, and do everything together, sew together. So it must be very hard for them to social isolate because it's not what they do at all. They would have to go back to their love shacks and sit there and not talk to anybody, which I probably don't appreciate. So it's spreading quite rapidly through various Hutterite colonies in Saskatchewan. I didn't know there were so many, but there's actually quite a few spread out.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're starting to feel pandemic fatigue, pandemic doom and gloom as it starts to spike up again. However, I'm healthy, and healthy is a relative term, Brian. I don't want to,
Let's not go overboard.
Let's not go overboard. I have my pool heater reached a record 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius yesterday. This is a 170 square foot solar pool heater. They call them a pool heater, but it's just a mat. Basically, it's plumbing with tiny tubes that go through black mats. It's mounted on a rack that is in my backyard, and it takes up some space. But I usually struggle with it because I used to have a gas heater back in the day, and kept it at a toasty 86 degrees, which was very, very decadent for a pool.
Mm-hmm.
But yesterday it felt like a hot tub. It felt, or a bathtub anyway. So I sat in there. I've been sitting in my pool all day. This is a confession time. Been sitting there weightless, because the real world, Brian, has gravity. But the fatter you are, the lighter you are in a pool.
Interesting.
The more fit and lean you are, the heavier you are in the pool. So
what's the gravity on Mars?
I want to say like 0.6, but that's just throwing that out there. I don't know. But
okay, so is that why everyone wants to move to Mars?
That's why I want to move to Mars. It's my primary reason. Screw the fact that there's no atmosphere and nothing there. And death would be all but certain. Imagine getting COVID on Mars. Mars COVID. You'd be dead. Eating your potatoes grown from poop and all. But yes, the weight. I would love that. Anyway, and I've been listening to, I have these cheap Bluetooth speakers. They're about $40 each. And they pair up and create stereo. So I hang them on the pool fence, and I in a stereo pattern, and I listen to music in a fairly unobtrusive way. And they're tinny, and but I get into it and I just get lost for hours and hours and hours. And then after hours and hours and hours, the kids come in and they don't want me to leave. So they're there for hours. So yeah, I come out with, and I literally can't get out of the pool. It's like an astronaut landing on Earth trying to walk. You can't do it. You need people to carry you away.
Yeah.
And that's the situation that I'm in. So I feel very guilty because I have any second now new speakers arriving, and I feel guilty because I spent a couple $100 on them. They're from Bose. And they do the same thing, and the batteries last as long, but they're supposedly better sound quality. And, I could have solved an African village's diet problem or something like that, but no, I chose to get speakers, and we're saving money. We're not driving anywhere. We're not spending any money on vacations, and so I've justified it that way. Have you had any expenditure? Have you bought anything sinful to treat yourself during the pandemic and say, this is a pandemic and I want to do something nice for my family or myself? Anything like that?
Well, this is a slightly weird thing that I just did yesterday, which is not characteristic of me, but I ordered a hat for the Seatle Kracken hockey team. So the NHL announced their newest hockey team, which is the Seatle Kracken, a couple of days ago. And yeah, I just thought the logo was really great. And I was like, hey, maybe I'll get a hat. I need more hats. So yeah, I ordered a Seatle Kracken hat and should be here next week sometime.
What is the logo on the hat?
Well, it's an S, but the S has sort of a tentacle inside of it and an eyeball. So it sort of looks like a Kraken. It's just, I think it's really good graphic design. We're living in this age where, a new design comes out or, a new graphic comes out and everybody on the internet complains about it and, thinks it's terrible and criticizes it. And there's people that are criticizing the Seattle logo.
Of course.
But yeah, I just loved it from the start. I thought it was a really nice design.
And here I thought you were like jumping on the bandwagon of a new team and just getting something as new, or perhaps you were even amused by the Kraken name, which is a Nordic sea monster or something.
Well, apparently there is some connection to Seattle. Somebody posted a thing online of, something from a newspaper from 1850. It's sort of like the Kraken is kind of like Seattle's Loch Ness Monster or something. There's some connection to Seattle.
Oh, it maybe popped by Seattle once in the 1800s or something?
Yeah. Okay. Something like that.
Well, I've been digesting, it's 20 years since the movie Almost Famous came out. And I really like that movie by Cameron Crowe. I imagine you didn't because you're not a sentimental guy. You don't have a heart. You're not one of these people who likes sentiment in movies, but he overdoes the sentiment, some people say. So I love it.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought it was okay.
I love the movie, and it reminded me of the film you and I did together, The Sabbatical, because they lost a lot. They had casting problems. Brad Pitt was supposed to play the lead role, and then he dropped out, and somebody else dropped out. And they ended up just getting the cast by fluke, and it turned out to be so good. Anyway, there's a 5-part or 6-part podcast series out that delves into it called Origins. Oh, yeah. And Origins has done other shows and movies too, and they've gotten into this. So they've got interviews with the cast and even the casting director, which I thought, man, what a great casting director she is. She cared so much. And and there were some great stories about Philip Seymour Hoffman because he was very dickish. I mean, he was very eccentric and very, he would yell cut and no, why would you do that? Like Cameron Crowe had this habit of playing songs during scenes did lots of takes and he played songs just to get people in the mood, and he really pissed off Philip Seymour Hoffman. He says, don't you think the song that I have in my head is better than whatever you can come up with? And of course it was, because he's Philip Seymour Hoffman. And midway through his career, and he was, and then also, it had basically a first-time actor. The kid was 15, turning 16. He'd never done a movie before. They did 5 months on the road, and They did like 6 weeks of rock school with actual rock stars learning how to play. There's lots of big names in that movie. Basically, everyone who was in that became a star. Even the kid had a good, lucrative career. Anyway, it felt like our film that everything had to work, and there was so much care and respect, and the crew and everybody sort of became a big family, and they worked through it, and they all really tried in them. And especially the casting director was so good. See, Philip Seymour Hoffman wouldn't audition, but they needed to know if he could play this real life character, this critic. What's his name? Fuck, I forget.
I don't remember.
So he was a famous cantankerous critic and rock critic, and so Philip Seymour Hoffman came in and just started ranting about this real estate sign where Scorsese was selling, not real estate, he was selling a credit card on a billboard. He just did a rant, and Cameron Crowe, he left, and Cameron Crowe was like, "What was that? I needed to talk to him." And the casting director said, "Well, don't you see? He just did the character. He just did the audition for you." And of course, when he thought about it, it was brilliant. And and they actually shot the movie in sequence, which is insane.
Oh yeah,
it's insane to do a 5-month shoot in. That doesn't happen anymore, which is what they pointed out. Also bought Close Encounters of the Third Kind on the iTunes sale for $5. And the extras, Brian, the extras. Hours of extras. And that's what I watched. I watched the extras. This is in 4K too, which I saw on Netflix. And I just wanted to own that because it reminds me of my childhood.
Yeah, I don't normally buy movies on iTunes, but a couple of years ago, I was going to show Blade Runner to the kids. And yeah, you could buy the, newest version of Blade Runner, the original, the director's, what is it called? The final cut, I think it's called. And for $10, you could buy it on iTunes, and it came with 3 or 4 hours of special features and some really good stuff about, the special effects and everything. This is not clean energy news, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. But Almost Famous, Sarah Polley was going to be the female lead in that, the famous Canadian actress and director. And a few weeks into rehearsals, she decided she didn't want to be a movie star, so she dropped out because she knew she'd be a huge star after that. And she's like, I don't want that. Yeah,
and I can't imagine her in the role, and I can't really imagine Brad Pitt in the role. But he was there for 4 months workshopping the material for 4 months, and it's sorry, Cameron. Yeah, and the fact that it was based on a real life story of a kid who was 15. Cameron Crowe writing for Rolling Stone and traveling with the world's greatest 70s rock bands is added a lot to it too. So I really like the film. I know a lot of people are not on board with it as much, but it is a classic, and it is something that's stuck around. Anyway, Brian, let's get back to clean energy news. Edmonton, Alberta, as you know, is the coldest capital in Canada. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And I'm very excited that it got 21 of its order of 40 all-electric buses. So this is near us, for those of you who don't know. Edmonton's about a 10-hour drive away, which is relatively close in Canada. And it's a city that we all get to on a regular basis, I would say. 40 electric buses they're getting, and 21 of them are already on order. And I understood that they would be replacing their diesel buses one at a time. This would take some time. No, they've got 21 of those suckers. They even built a new garage that has just for these that are. So this is part of the problem of electrifying your bus fleet all at once. Is you have to have the infrastructure to charge these puppies. Because they have massive, massive batteries. The 350 kilowatts, which is like, is it 350? No, it's 350 kilometer range, but but it's like several Teslas in each bus, and you have to be able to charge these quickly overnight. So they have these head chargers, these sort of accordion things that come down from the ceiling and that mount onto the roof of the buses. And that's something that you could install along the route as well to give them like a 10-minute charge would be great, or even an 8-minute charge to keep them going if you needed to. But they do have a massive 350 kilometer range, which is a lot more, I think, than buses actually travel. They don't actually, most buses on a regular route don't travel all that much in their daily routine. So it's made to save them money. It costs more still now, but the money they save is amazing. And you know what? If it wasn't even for you don't get the diesel smell downtown. If you've ever been stuck in a downtown by buses, you have this horrible diesel exhaust. You have the loud noise from them, and that's all gone with electric buses. In fact, Brian, I have a clip for you comparing a diesel bus and an electric bus. Let's listen.
I'm sure if you look hard enough in the specs that you're going to kill it.
So as you can tell, the electric bus is a lot more quiet. Brian?
That was amazing.
Thank you. I like clips. I like to add clips. And I'm going to throw another one at you before you get to yours. Estevan's mall is putting electric EV charging in Saskatchewan. So this is a small city in oil and coal country, and they have a new owner for the mall, and they've decided that they're going to be modern. They're going to put in EV charging. They're going to build it before, and they will come type of thing, because there's not a lot of EVs down there. Very little infrastructure for it. So this is one of our first outdoor malls to get EV charging in Saskatchewan, and it's in a small town in the middle of oil and coal country. Back to you.
Yeah, Estevan's an interesting place because, all the coal mining and coal burning that we have goes on around there, but they're also the sunshine capital of Canada. They get more sunshine hours than anyone else, so they're a natural for solar, too.
Yeah, and my God, we should be on that. Should we not?
Absolutely.
What are your top stories of the week? What's got your attention?
Well, this feels like ancient history already, but Tesla posted their Q2 results and said that they posted a profit. This would have been going on while we were recording last week's show, right. So we didn't report on it last week, but it's a week ago. Feels like forever, but they've now had 4 profitable quarters in a row. So this is a big deal. They're probably going to get on the S&P 500 index, yada, yada, yada.
And it's during the pandemic.
Yeah, during the pandemic, it was the EV credits that kind of put them over the edge because there's tough regulations in places like Europe. If the automakers there don't make enough zero-emission vehicles, they have to pay a fine. But they can buy the zero EV credits from Tesla. So they took in about $425 million for these credits. So, that put them over the top.
That's almost $500 million for those of you who are new to math. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's not
a small chunk of change for doing nothing. just for doing the right thing.
These auto companies, they knew that the regulations were coming. They knew they'd have to pay large fines, and they just did it anyway.
They were okay with it. Well, screw them, I say. Screw them. Tesla's on a tear. How is your stock doing?
Good. It peaked way up at 1,800, and now it's back more to like 1,500.
1,800?
Oh, yeah. It just went flying one day in the morning. Like it went up 20% in the morning, and then by the afternoon, it dropped again. Like it went down like 25% in the afternoon. I think there was some announcement about California maybe having to shut things down again. So everyone got scared and got out. But it's around 1,500 right now.
That's crazy. The shorts must be in a world of pain right now.
One would think so, yeah.
And the people who are betting against the stock in order to try and make money are getting pinched hard. Very, very hard.
So speaking of rules and not following the rules, so, all these auto companies are having to pay fines because they're not making enough EVs. The Energy Transfer Company says it won't shut down the Dakota Access pipeline, even though a judge has ordered them to do so.
Really?
Yeah, this is from, again, about a week. Oh, no, sorry. This is earlier in July. This is an early July story. A federal judge ordered the pipeline be shut down pending environmental review. And the company that owns the pipeline said, yeah, we're not going to do that.
Lester Bangs was the name of the rock critic that Philip Seymour Hoffman played in Almost Famous. Sorry, it just came to me. Well, Brian, there's late breaking news. Well, it's not breaking news, but it's a late story that Indiana is getting a buttload of solar, 200 megawatts adding solar. This
Wow.
is not a place that adds a lot of solar. This one thing will do 36,000 homes and $180 million, hundreds of full-time jobs during construction, and several permanent jobs, which is a nice thing about solar is that you don't need a whole bunch of people to run it. Anyway, they've decided, after getting some pressure, that this land will be multi-use, that people say, well, you need so much land for solar, which really you don't. I mean, in all things considered, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But they are going to put on beehives, and they're going to protect pheasants and other little things that run around and don't have wings. Quail, I guess they're called. We have a few in my neighborhood sometimes. It's weird. There's like 18 quail certainly running around my yard sometimes, and I don't even know how they got in because there's fences everywhere. Maybe they can fly. I don't know. But yeah, so they're going to have this large solar installation, and this is exciting. It's not just because one person is doing this. To illustrate that you can do so much with solar. You can put down a farm of solar and still use it as a farm. So
Yeah.
they're going to steward the land, in this case, by putting in meadow grasses and pollinator-friendly wildflower plants and our clover so that bees can thrive too. So, they're not, it's not destroying the land. You look at the oil sands and it's massive destruction of land and waterways. And you put down solar, and you can still you can actually improve what was there. You have net benefit where there was nothing before. There is now grasses that won't die in the sun because they'll have some partial shade and thrive and help bees and other wildlife. So I think that's cool.
No, that's great. It's you can be. I mean, here in Saskatchewan, we've got lots of land, so we wouldn't really have to be that efficient with it. But if you can use it for more than one thing, that's amazing.
I know. And there's also things like sheep and, the stands, they go up, I don't know how far, maybe 6 feet or something. And animals can graze underneath, which is actually helps because then you don't have to mow it. You don't have to cut down the vegetation. You actually, I don't know. It's just, it's a sweet deal. And I wish I had my own solar farm. There, I said it.
So other news, Autogefühl, the YouTube channel, has put out a review of the Volkswagen ID.3, which is still, it's technically a pre-production model, but we're very close to the Volkswagen ID.3 being released in Europe. So that's the first review I've seen.
Haven't they started manufacturing them last Christmas or even before? And they're sort of stockpiling them to release them all at once?
Yeah, apparently they have thousands of them parked somewhere where they continue to work on the software. But I don't know, this was a very positive review on YouTube from the Autogefühl channel. It looks like its software's got to be very close to being finished. Looks like a good car.
Yeah, the thing we have to remind people is that this is a massively produced car by a company that claims to be switching its factories over to electric. And they may be the only serious electric contender right now compared to Tesla. Is that what your opinion would say?
Yeah, they seem to be taking the switch over the most seriously of the major auto companies.
So although not everybody will be driving the ID.3 in Canada with your SUVs and your pickup trucks and your minivans and your Humvees, a lot of places in the world will embrace this practical hatchback, which I'm assuming is about the same size as the Leaf. Would you say that?
Yeah, it's the size of a Leaf or the size of a Golf.
Very practical car with a hatchback, so you got storage, you can put things back there and groceries and everything, put the seats down, transport some bigger things from time to time. Small footprint so you can park easy. So yeah, this is a car, probably I would say the most anticipated car in the EV world since the latest Tesla. Like people really want to see this thing take off and sell by the boatload, literally.
No, and of course, Volkswagen is obviously a huge company that sells a lot of cars, and they have tons of
diehard Volkswagen fans. So there's a lot of diehard Volkswagen fans.
Brand loyalty.
Who wouldn't want to buy a Tesla. They've been waiting for Volkswagen.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about that German styling and the all the engineering that's going into that. Having said that, I mean, Tesla is breaking ground on a massive gigafactory outside of Berlin, and they're going to be making batteries and a lot of other things there too, right?
Model 3, Model Y. They're hoping to have some cars out of there by maybe the end of the year. Well, probably early next year, I would say.
Yeah. But, Austin, Texas was chosen for not just the Cybertruck production, but did I hear right? The Semi and the Model 3 and the Model Y for the East Coast of the United States will be made in Austin?
That sounds right, but I'm not sure the details. Cybertruck and the Semi were kind of the main things for Austin.
Yeah, I know. But then they added these other things for the East Coast. And I got to tell you, Brian, I'm suspicious of this. This sounds fishy to me. And it's because they've offered leases on the Model Y to expand, sales. Now, maybe they have multiple production lines in Fremont, California, in Silicon Valley. Maybe they do, and maybe they'll make that a single production line or something like that. However, the fact that they're making them in Germany and in Austin and in California tells me something. You know what it tells me? It tells me
what?
That this battery day that's coming up, this much, much anticipated and delayed battery day because of the COVID, should have happened in the spring, has been pushed back to the end of September. And that is going to be a huge day. And I can't wait to hear what the details of their battery is. We're talking major improvements in energy density and price and in removing some minerals that are expensive or maybe hard to get, like cobalt, from the battery. And that's a game changer. I think that they see the price of these vehicles coming down substantially. That's what I think. And they're going to need all these factories to pump them out. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that does make sense. Of course, they announced recently that they're not going to be offering the standard range plus version of the Model Y, like, the sort of lower range car. So I was slightly surprised by that announcement. But yeah, probably they figured that they can have a longer range version of the Y and just keep dropping the price because the cost of the batteries is going to keep coming down.
And mass production. And they got the Chinese factory as well that's pumping out the 3 and the Y. Are they doing the Y now in China? I can't remember.
The 3 being produced now, and they're working on another line for the Y for, later this year or next year.
As well as battery production.
Yeah, it's really all about expansion and securing all the supplies. Tesla's trying to grow at 50% per year. So it's just going to be a massive undertaking to secure everything that they need. They said on their earnings call about, they mentioned mining a lot. Mm-hmm. So they're anticipating needing all these materials like nickel. And there was a Canadian nickel mining company that sort of replied and said, we'll give you some nickel.
You want nickel? We got nickel.
It's all about securing mineral supply and battery supply and growing. Because if EVs are going to replace gasoline cars in the next 10 years, the amount of batteries needed is kind of insane.
Yeah, and the fact that grid storage will take off too, even at current prices, it's very viable in a lot of markets right now. And it's just a matter of getting proven and having the availability and understanding it better. I think that, there's a lot of people that say, well, we can't manufacture the batteries. We can't, electric cars can't take over that quickly because we just can't get the batteries that fast. But it takes, from what I understand, it only takes a couple of years to get a mine online for a lot of these places, for a lot of these minerals that they're looking at. And once there's a demand there, I mean, the investment will be crazy. And the fact that interest rates are very low now, I think we're going to see a ton of investment to get batteries on board. And I think by 2025, you're going to have very cheap batteries.
Yeah, and investment is moving out of fossil fuels and moving into batteries because obviously that's the future.
It is definitely the future. And Yeah. There's one thing I wanted to sort of talk about here is that, the Royal Bank of Canada, who I hate, and I'll tell you why I hate them. It was the first place we went to for a mortgage, and they laughed at us. So we were trying to buy our first house. We thought, yeah, maybe we could buy a house. And they laughed at us. And my wife was just completely dejected. And the person gave her this story like, well, yeah, but how will you buy a lawnmower? And people gave us literally 3 lawnmowers when we bought our first house.
Yeah.
We have never.
I've got one right now if you need one right now.
I'm happy that I bought a $10 electric lawnmower, battery electric lawnmower, and had to buy a battery for it for $100. But I love that thing. Mm-hmm. I love it. It's quiet. It's powerful. It mulches, and I can be smug about charging it off of solar. So there.
Why did it only cost $10?
Because the battery was gone. It was sort of a first generation that used kind of like 2 small car batteries. They sort of had the form factor of a car battery. And they were about $50 plus tax each, and it required 2 of them to become a 24-volt, system. So yeah, and they just there's this plastic cover that goes over them, and you're good to go. And you charge it, and it could probably, it mow for days and days. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I bought a battery electric lawnmower last year, and it's amazing. And now I get annoyed anytime I hear a lawnmower, a gas-powered lawnmower, because it's just irritating, loud, noisy, smelly, just like the diesel buses.
Yeah, my neighbor has a Corvette from, I want to say, my high school graduation year, and he loves that car. It's his identity is an old man, and he wears a muscle shirt when he's around it, and only when he's around it, and gets it out of storage. And he parks it in his driveway, which is like 20 feet away from my pool. So we're just gagging in the pool when he pulls up.
Yikes.
It's just nasty business. And, and his lawnmower, which is choking along. That's right. Mm-hmm. He mows it every other day. The man is so bored. He's from the generation, older than us that doesn't know what to do in retirement. It's like, us Gen X's, we spent our lives half in retirement. We know what to do. He's just mows his lawn every 2 days. Like, I don't know. All my old neighbors they're from the people who bought the houses in '79. They're out there pulling a dandelion. They're looking for dandelions. They're just wandering their front lawns looking for something to do. And it's, my God, don't they know that there's porn on the internet now? There's got to be something for these old men to do. That's all I have to say. Oh, and I bought by the way, I didn't know you bought an electric lawnmower. I think that's something I should know about. And I didn't know that you bought a battery electric lawnmower. Was it brand new? Was it on clearance or something?
It was year-end clearance at Canadian Tire, just like at the end of summer last year.
Okay. So you're very happy with it then?
It's awesome, yeah. And you probably mow the lawn about 5 times before you need to recharge it.
Really?
It's great.
Yeah. I bought, and I did this spontaneously on one day, a battery electric weed whacker.
Oh, nice.
And it was, with tax, it was $100, I think. It was on sale from $140 to $90 or something like that. So it was $100 expenditure. It was a big expenditure. But I've never been able to, it's almost impossible to run an extension cord just because of the way my yard is. It's broken up by the pool, and I have a front yard, and there's just no way you want to get an extension. I rarely whack my weeds, maybe once a year, if you know what I mean. And I went out and I bought this electric, and the battery is so small and light. It feels like 2 D-cell batteries are in there. That's how small the battery is. But it's so energy dense now, and so cheap that you can just take that sucker out and whack to your heart's content. And it even turns sideways and does edging with wheels, so you can edge along the edge of your lawn. Love it. I've been out there every day whacking this and that, whatever I can whack.
Well, before I got my battery electric lawnmower, I have a nice Fisker
reel mower, like the kind of mower that has no battery, like you just
Yep.
push it and the blades spin and they cut the
Do you have to
grass.
sharpen those?
I've never sharpened it. It might need it by now, but that's the mower that I can have. You can have if you want it. I'm going to get around to selling it this year because it still works great. But I bought that, and then I bought a weed whip, which is just like a scythe. It's like a blade that's maybe shaped like a hockey stick.
Like a scythe, or what?
A scythe, yeah.
Is that what it is?
It's called a weed whip because it's not the same shape as a scythe. It's shaped more like a hockey stick. But because the one thing about a reel mower is if the grass gets too long, it just bends it over instead of cutting it.
Yes.
So I got the weed whip so that if there was a few blades of grass that were too long, I could just go out and without using electricity or gasoline, just whack them down.
Cool. Did it work?
It worked, but it was a lot of work. And when the grass was nice and healthy, the reel mower was kind of hard to push through.
Right.
It took a lot of effort. And yeah, maybe the blades needed sharpening, but that's why I went for the battery electric lawnmower because those had gotten cheaper. And like I say, I got one end of season sale, which was
Brian,
great.
you're too old to push a manual lawnmower. You got to move on.
Well, I was trying to get the kids to do it, but they struggled a bit with it. It was
I tried to get my kids
very
to mow my
unpleasant
lawn,
chore
too.
for them.
It's not working out.
Yeah.
Lazy, whatever. What are they? They're not millennials. They're what?
Zed? Gen Z?
They're too lazy to come up with a name. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, but they don't mind cutting the grass with the battery electric mower.
Oh, they don't.
They don't mind.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you mulch or do you bag?
I'm a mulcher. Absolutely. I hate the extra effort of having to
Why bag? All these old men.
Why bag?
All these old men are carefully bagging and they're doing half the
Don't get
lawn
it.
and carrying it to the garbage and putting it in a bag and going back because they're just trying to kill their day. That's their
Yeah.
objective. The longer it takes, the better. I'm out there. I mowed my damn lawn in like 9 minutes and 20 seconds last night. I was in there. It was like a marathon, and I had to go over some
Wow.
things twice because it was so bloody long. It was full of weeds. I don't know what to do about the weeds. It's embarrassing.
So I've got one last story here that relates to our previous chats about myself walking through the streets of Regina and that guy walking through all the streets of New York. I thought this was a fun story on Vice. And the headline is, "This guy is crossing the country in Google Street View, one click at a time."
Really?
Yeah, he decided to do a cross-country trip on Google Street View. And apparently it's taking a very long time.
Is it? Maybe he should just walk it.
It probably take about as much time as actually walking it.
Huh. Well, I don't know what to say about that. That's it's sad. Maybe my neighbor should get into that.
Yeah, I mean, pandemic times, weird times, weird solutions.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, it's time for the lightning round.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Did you know that after 2 deaths, the Revel company temporarily pulls the plug on shared electric mopeds in New York City? They had a shared bicycle program, except they had mopeds. You know what a moped looks like? It looks like basically
Yeah.
little motorcycle.
Or kind of like, were these ones sort of like a Vespa scooter kind
Well,
of
you
thing?
could sit down and it had a big pack at the back and, pretty deluxe scooter, I would say.
So 2 people died.
2 people have already died.
So they've canceled the program. Yeah, I mean, that sounds too powerful a machine for just casual users.
Yeah, and it's New York City too. But this is a challenge that I think that the electrification of everything, including last mile transportation, like scooters and bikes, is gonna have some bumps along the way. And by bumps, I mean dead bodies.
Apparently, yeah.
Which is too bad. And my hat goes off to the dead people who have come to their end. So Tesla's opening up their supply software, powertrains, and batteries to other automakers. Is that a good thing?
Right. So they said that they are willing to supply maybe powertrains or batteries to other automakers. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, they're working so hard to expand. It's hard to imagine them having excess capacity that they could, lend out or sell to other automakers. But I don't know if they do it right. It might be possible. If they're building enormous battery capacity, then maybe they'll have some left over that they could sell to other people.
Okay, Tesla could become the most valuable company in the world, says the Volkswagen CEO of all people.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting possibility. It's I think because they're really working in so many different energies. It's not just transportation, but they're really in the energy business, the energy generation, energy storage. They're getting into insurance now, like you can buy Tesla insurance in California. So that's their plan, I think. If they're able to execute on their plan, they'll probably be the biggest company in the world.
That's insane. I mean, they could be, we talked a bit about the rumor about them getting into home heating, like the efficiency of heat pumps, because they work with that technology. So they could, yeah. And they call themselves a software company, but really there's a lot of battery tech that is getting deployed.
Yeah, it's software and hardware, very much, like Apple is, right? Like they're definitely a software type company, but they also go through the hassle of having to build all that crazy hardware that they do.
And more Tesla news. Tesla is 2 years ahead of the industry in critical areas, says the Audi CEO, pardon me. 2 years ahead of the industry. Does that feel right?
Yeah, I think so. And like I'd like to point out that they're not always maybe as far ahead as everybody thinks they are, because, like the Hyundai Kona is pretty close in terms of price and efficiency. But it just comes, again, back around, I think, to capacity. Like, sure, the Hyundai Kona is a good EV, but they're just not making enough of them. And they may not even be able to if they want to. It's all about securing future supply of all the materials needed.
So the Mini standard electric car, the sporty little two-door deal, which you like, don't you? Didn't you say something about
I've always liked Minis. I've thought about buying Minis. Like I thought about buying a gas-powered one many years ago. Was really excited when the electric one was finally coming, but the range is just too small. It sounds like it's a good car, but with very, very small range.
I was going to ask you about the range. 110 EPA, which is what really on the low end of like first generation Leaf type of almost.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
A long time ago. The Royal Bank of Canada, Brian, will buy solar power from Blue Earth Renewables Inc. under a renewable energy contract. That's the first of its kind for Canadian financial firms. So, yeah, I started talking about why I didn't like the Royal Bank, and they're buying a solar farm for 2,600 homes completed by April of next year. Now, the Royal Bank also funds fossil fuels, right? The worst financiers of the oil sands are the Canadian banks. So, is this greenwashing, would you say?
Yeah, it sounds like it. I don't know the details really about Royal Bank, but if you say they're investing lots in fossil fuels, I believe you.
Okay. Well, I read things. From The Independent, renewable energy is on course to become the cheapest kind of power to produce in the United Kingdom, meaning household electricity bills could actually fall if savings are passed on to consumers. This is something we all envisioned for when we get to the promised land of green energy. And now we're starting to hear talk of that. So in the past, government subsidies for energy products have pushed energy bills up because you have to subsidize it, eh? Like in Saskatchewan, if you want wind or solar, you have to pay a premium and pass it on to consumers. That's what SaskPower says, even though solar is cheap and blah, blah, blah. But The cost of installing and running wind and solar energy products has fallen, and renewables are set to undercut fossil fuels to the extent that they could operate with negative subsidies, paying money back to the government. So you subsidize something, you put it in, and you get money back. I think that's really significant.
Yeah, from what I understand, they have a very open electrical grid in the UK, sort of a deregulated grid where lots of people can create power and put power into the grid or take it out. So it's very much a free market power grid they have there in the UK. So I think this was inevitable that the renewables would eventually get super cheap.
All right, and now it's time for James's Clean Pet Peeves, a new segment here on the show. We like to introduce.
Fantastic. Is there a theme song?
Not yet, Brian, not yet, because that would be a pet peeve of mine to create a theme song. However, I don't like people calling wind turbines windmills. This is a public service message from me, James Whittingham.
Well, I agree with you, but yeah, I sort of had to train myself to say turbines because, the default for me was to say windmill, but that's wrong. So I try and say turbine.
So a windmill is something you find in Holland with big blades that turn in the wind, but they actually grind a gear that mills flour. Is that not correct?
I believe that's correct. Yeah, it's a windmill.
So it's using the wind as power, in a sense, but only for one purpose, and that's the mill flour. So, calling it a windmill is improper, and people in high public office do it all the time. That's my pet peeve of the week. It concludes my contribution to the show this week. Do you have anything else, Brian?
No, I think we're good. Another excellent show in the books.
Oh, I don't know how we keep doing it. The Clean Energy Show. So we are here as two guys talking about the latest information in energy news. I hope you join us again. I hope you tell your friends. You can find us on Twitter, Clean Energy Pod. That's Clean Energy Pod on Twitter. You can leave us a message there. You can tweet us. You can direct message us. You can send us a message on SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com. That's speakpipe.com/Clean Energy Show. You can record a little message for us and we'll play it on the show. We love that. That's so nice to hear somebody else talk for once and get your feedback. And cleanenergyshow@gmail.com is our email. You can send us thoughts. We'd like to know what you think are the important stories of the week, because I'm sure that we missed some things that you think are important. So let us know. Brian, we were expecting your big video for your trip to the West Coast. And we're not
it turns
hearing
out
anything about it.
I was too lazy to finish it.
Brian Stockton, I appreciate your honesty and candidity.
But also, we took another trip out to the lake, and when we do that, we can go through Whitewood. So I decided to add the Whitewood supercharger onto the video. So we did that. I got a couple of shots. So that's my slight excuse, is that last-minute additions have delayed it.
Sure, production setbacks and an expansion and reshoots. Well, that's good to know. We look forward to it. It'll be on our YouTube channel hopefully soon, and we'll let you know about that. It's going to be an epic video because Brian is a very talented filmmaker, and I'm sure it will be spectacular. The best supercharging video you've ever seen addressing the Western Canadian Supercharging Network. Brian, it's been fun, and we'll see you next week on the Clean Energy Show.
Yeah, see you next week.